The topic for the Sunday satsang is go with slow speed, which is something that Yoganandaji would say. And it's a good thought for this coming into this new year as people try to make changes in their life and make bold, sometimes way too bold of resolutions to make big changes and then come crashing back to earth, especially with our sadhana. And one time, Master advised Swamiji, who tended to be over-enthusiastic with meditation. And what Master said to him was, he said, do not get excited or impatient. Go with slow speed. You will get there sooner if you get that way. And Swamiji said that he thinks this expression, go with slow speed, was Master's creative way of an American expression, which is make haste slowly. And Swamiji also says that to the disciples, Yogananda often said, be patient in your yoga practice. A plant won't grow the moment you plant the seed. Make haste slowly, as the saying goes. It may take time to achieve the results you long for, but the more you practice, the more you will see your life changing. The day will dawn at last when you won't even recognize yourself as the person that you were. And this is very good advice, because we get discouraged, or we see people moving forward and we want to move forward, and we get inspired, and sometimes inspired, more emotionally inspired by the possibilities. And I was this way too. I can find samadhi, not just in this lifetime, but this week, or next week. And if I just put out the effort, if I just try really hard, and we see that it's a long-term progress, it's a long-term program. But our part, and this I've seen over the years, and I've seen this way to really, really work the best for long-lasting success, not for short-term bursts of success that often come crashing back down, but for long-term stable success is to follow Master's advice, make haste slowly and go with slow speed. It doesn't mean going slowly. It means just deliberately, continually making forward progress. And this is what I've seen, this idea of always making forward progress in some way, and just always looking in one's life to make forward movement and forward progress. And if we do this in a strong, steady way, it's sustainable over the course of a lifetime. And there are times when we'll make more progress and we'll have opportunities and we'll put out more energy and willpower, and the timing is right. But this slow, steady speed is really what brings you to God at the end of a lifetime. I've seen this. We're building a monastery here, and it's taking time. I mean, we're just finally, after a year of submitting and going to the government, we're actually very, very close to getting the final approval to start building for the first time. And others were kind of trying to push us, outside forces, just start building illegally and it doesn't matter. And, and we've seen buildings going up in a shoddy way and falling apart 5 years later and cracking and peeling. And this is what happens when you try to make outward progress rather than inward progress. And if we just do outward progress for show, how many hours of meditation only, which is a good thing to have a longer time to meditate, but if we are hanging our hat on those outward reference points, we ignore the really important part, which is the sustainable foundation that you build within. And we're seeing this after 2 years from 2 years ago, coming to Chandigarh to look for land for a monastery with no money and no land, and step by step and doing it in the right way. There's land, government permissions are about to be there to build. We're working with contractors and builders, learning local different ways of doing these things, planting trees that are starting to grow. And trees are a good example. They just take a long time to grow, but you have to plant them, you have to water them, you have to take care of them. You can't rush them to grow more quickly. And some, people throw a bunch of chemicals in there to make it grow much more fast, a bunch of nitrogen. I've been a gardener all my life, and people throw a lot of nitrogen and it grows real fast, but then it dies because it's just not sustainable growth, and it's not a healthy kind of a growth. And so try to find a way to work with forward progress that is sustainable. And that means just, it's again, going back to what Yoganandaji said, which is to go with this slow, steady speed, but always looking to go forward. One of the things also, and this applies, I think, to New Year's resolutions and progress in the new year, which is try to make progress proactive rather than just reactive. And I've seen this too with my own life, with trying to build a group of monks, is that when we were having problems a few years ago, before we made this big shift, it was like I was always putting out fires, stuff coming up, and it was always reactive. And when you're always reactive and just trying to fend off delusion and just defend yourself and not do bad stuff and seeing it in a reactive, negative way, you actually never make progress. You just kind of maintain your ground, maybe. But if you find ways to really consciously move forward, it makes a world of difference. And I saw this, rather than just, putting out fires, to go in a new forward direction in a really positive way. And if you make that kind of forward progress, the negativity, the things trying to pull you down, they just get left in the dust way behind you. And you're making so much forward movement that they can't even grab onto you anymore. You're just far, far away in the distance. An analogy I like to use is playing offense rather than just playing defense. And World Cup is happening right now. And, in football, if all you ever did was just stay back and play defense, you would never score a goal. And eventually the other team would probably score, but you would never win a game. But you also have to, you have to play some defense. You also have to be really dynamically trying to move the ball down the field and score some goals. And that's how you win the game, is by proactively playing offense rather than just being defensive with these things and trying to hold on for dear life to our spiritual life. And sometimes we have to do that too. But in terms of actually making progress, this is a proactive process that we should be looking for. And this is why it's really good, for example, to have positive New Year's resolutions, rather than saying, I won't do this, I won't do that, I won't eat this, I won't, eat that. And it starts to be kind of a negative frame of mind of not this, not that. And instead think of positive things, like I will start eating this healthy food, for example. And same with the spiritual life, of just positive things that we'll start doing. So with making goals or resolutions for the new year, and at any time really, but with New Year's resolutions, because I found these really, really helpful to take a few things on each year that I really work on. And what I really tend to focus on in recent years, and I found it to be the most helpful, is to choose a simple goal in the most important arena of all, which is forward progress towards God. At the end of life, that's the only thing that's going to be important when we look back, is how much progress we've made towards loving God more, offering ourselves into God more, merging into God, moving towards God and away from this little self. That's really all that matters in the end. And so I always choose a really simple forward goal. I'll talk about this more in a minute. I also choose other sort of resolutions or goals, maybe that are more fun, or like health related, exercise or attitude, or with the techniques, energizing every day or something like that, just, more technique oriented. And make those kinds of goals challenging, but don't make them impossible. I mean, so many people make a New Year's resolution and it lasts one day because they find out how impossible it is or how difficult it is, and then they fail, and then it's it for the rest of the year. And so choose something that is challenging, And you do want to challenge ourselves because we want to develop that willpower in a really positive way. One year, sort of my New Year's resolution, it wasn't a resolution, but it was this sort of a very confident, in a way, it might express lack of confidence in a way when you hear it. But I just said to myself really strongly, if I don't fail this year, sometimes it means I'm just not setting the bar high enough. I'm not aiming high enough. And if we succeed at everything we vow to do, we're probably not trying hard enough. Either that or we're already a jivan mukta and we're already free. But I don't think that's most of us here, because we're here to come together to try to make forward progress. And so it's fine to fail. It really is. It just means we're trying hard. But don't set it so high that you fail so badly that you get discouraged. So, and also see that a momentary failure for a resolution doesn't mean, okay, I give up, that's it. I didn't make it through the year, okay, I'll wait till next New Year's to come up with another one that maybe I'll make it through the year. So be realistic in that way, but also accept that, if we aim high enough, yeah, we're going to stumble and fail sometimes during this year. So these are the kinds of things to look at. But with this idea of moving towards God, when I work in recent years with the New Year, it's not like a resolution of a thing I'm going to do when it comes to this God-directioned kind of approaches. Instead, I take something I'm going to work on really strongly throughout the year. And it could be practicing japa more and more and making that my huge focus for the year, day in, day out, of just chanting Om Guru and just playing games with it and having fun with it and just doing it a lot. And it's amazing if you focus on one single thing like that, how much progress you can make in that one area. And when you make progress in one thing like that, it makes a huge difference in our spiritual life. Another one is practicing the presence of God more and more during the year. And just making that, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make progress in this year. And I'm going to put a main part of my focus on that and just use games and have fun with it, with practicing the presence of God, and use tricks with it, and I've shared these examples. For example, how soon when I wake up in the morning can I turn my mind towards God, and just sort of keep testing yourself every morning. And if you do that every morning as sort of a test, basically what we're doing then is we're starting every single day really strongly and proactively thinking of God. So it's a really good game to play because it just gets us really going in a really positive and good direction. So do some of these kinds of things. With the techniques, I'll work on, rather than just numbers of kriyas and numbers of hours and having a list and check marks and see how I'm doing, which is also good. I'm not discouraging that. Those things are also good. But I find it may be more helpful at times to look, say, at doing kriya in the coming year, or as I did last year, more and more consciously with the power of the Guru. Every single kriya is the Guru's power flowing through my spine when I do kriya. And I find things like that really the ones that really transform myself in the end. And it's it's entirely because I'm working with the Guru's grace. It's not just me doing something. I'm working with the Guru in this. And this is a big part of it. Do this thing with God, with the Guru. And another one is just having a renewed dedication. 1 year, and this shows the power of this proactive kind of progress. Because many years ago, I was dealing with a delusion that was just, I couldn't overcome it. There was just no way I could just overcome it. It was just too hard, as much as I tried. And I finally gave up, and I just said, okay, I'm probably not going to do that this lifetime. But this coming year, I'm going to work and dedicate myself to Kriya Yoga this year. I'm going to renew my practice. I'm going to read the lessons. I'm going to just really dedicate my focus to really strong, deep Kriya Yoga practice. And it wasn't numbers of Kriyas. It wasn't anything that was really quantifiable at all, but it was quality and dedication. And that year was transforming. It was really, truly life transforming. A year dedicated just to really tuning into and focusing on Kriya Yoga. And again, it's not a check off box kind of a resolution where at the end of the year, I could check it off and say, yep, I did that resolution. Next year, I'll do something else. Because I realized that this became part of my life of just this constant, renewed, positive, forward-looking dedication. And so work on these things. And if we do this year by year, day by day, week by week, whether it's building a monastery, building a spiritual life, building a sadhana, building a business, if we have a dharma to build a business or to have a career in a certain way. And if we're always looking for forward progress in our career, learning something new all the time and trying new ways of doing this and just having a forward-looking, proactive, not just reactive approach to having progress, we'll find that at the end of the year, it's quite remarkable. And especially at the end of a lifetime. Once Yogananda said about this, in this context, it was in the context of this go with slow speed. He said to Swamiji, he said, do not be anxious if you don't have meditative experiences. The path to God is not a circus. Don't even be anxious about such fruits of meditation as inner joy and peace. Everything will come in God's time. Meanwhile, consider meditation too as a form of karma yoga, action without desire for the fruits of action. Meditate above all to please God, not yourself. Every sincere effort is registered in the divine consciousness. That's an amazing statement. Every sincere effort is registered in the divine consciousness. Your duty as a devotee is to accept whatever he sends you, and for that matter, whatever he doesn't send. That includes experiences. God alone knows what past karma keeps you from perceiving him right now. He may want you to finish up your karma in this life before he gives you eternal bliss in him. And so this reading is very helpful because it's not about results, being results-oriented only. Yes, results will come. And if they're not coming at all over time, I'm not speaking of instantaneously, but over time, then yeah, we need to be looking at our efforts. But the most important thing is making some kind of effort and putting out some kind of energy, because that's really, in a way, that's the beauty of a resolution or a vow or a determination, that it's really about putting out more effort in a very particular way in our spiritual life, in our outward life in some way. And no effort goes to waste. This is, again, just what Master says. Every sincere effort is registered in the divine consciousness. This is so important to remember, because it's not about getting results. It's not about what comes to us. Don't worry about whatever he sends you, and for that matter, whatever he doesn't send, is what Master was saying. And we think too much about this. Oh, I'm not making progress. That person looks like they're making more progress than me, and they don't even seem to be trying half as hard as I do. And it just, I've seen this over the years at Ananda, especially in the early days of Ananda Village, that there were people who were there who it just seemed so easy for them to make spiritual progress. It was so easy for them to meditate. And for other people, it was so hard. And some of those people for whom it was hard gave up. Others just had a strong determination and understood that they were doing these things to please God, not because of the results God was giving them. That's so important, is just to have this idea and this realization that we are acting and we are meditating and we are putting out these efforts as a form of karma yoga, action without desire for the fruits. And again, Master said, meditate above all to please God, not yourself. meditate above all to please God, not yourself. This is a good way to approach meditation in the new year. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to meditate more and more this year as a devotional self-offering, an arati or a puja of myself to God without any thought for the results. This year, I'm just trying to please God with my spirit, with my attitude, with my devotion. And whatever comes back to me, fine. Whatever doesn't come, fine. That's in God's hands. What's in my hands is myself. And what I do with what's in my hands is my choice. And so it doesn't depend on my karma. It doesn't depend on what God gives or doesn't give to me. My self is in my hands, and I choose to give myself to God in meditation, in seva, and devotion. And so look at this coming year and vows and approaches that we take in that spirit. What can I give to God in this coming year? And how can I give it? And so when we do take a vow, it's not about getting results. Oh, I'm going to quit sugar because I'm going to get healthier, because what's in it for me? Yeah, I mean, it's not bad to have that as a resolution. It's actually a good thing, I think. And so I'm definitely not trying to discourage people from doing that, but think more in terms of what I'm giving to God in this year and what changes in my life I'm going to make to enable me to give of myself, to hold it in my hands and give that gift to God and to the Guru in meditation, in service, in giving to others, and being more selfless with others, and thinking of myself less. And that's really the way to divine freedom, is that a proactive approach, because that is something that we can always do. Karma is going to come. Fires are going to happen in our life. Desires are going to kind of pull us away and distract us and cause problems. And we don't have control yet over the karma. We have control over our reactions, and we can resist and fight those battles. But what we especially have control over, and particularly because we have these God-realized masters, we have these techniques they've given us for learning to control the life force in the spine and to practice these techniques of Kriya Yoga. And we've learned that when we cooperate with their grace and act with them, anything's possible. And so working with the Guru, giving of ourselves more and more, I mean, to me, that is just one of the greatest vows that one can make, of a resolution of this year, I'm going to give myself and of myself more and more to God and Guru. I'm going to find a way every day to think about it. So it's not just a vague kind of, oh yeah, I'll try to give myself more and more and see what happens this year in a vague general way, but in real ways. In meditation, okay, I'm going to practice Kriya Yoga this year more and more as a devotional self-offering. I'm going to give myself to service, to whether to friends and family or Guru Seva this year. And this is just one area I'm talking about. I'm not saying this is the only area to work on, but if we think in terms of the big picture of an attitude, of a new way of approaching our spiritual life, and then think of applying that in different parts of our life, that infiltrates into every area of our spiritual life. And I've seen this, and I'm speaking from experience, that these are the types of things that make the biggest change at the end of a year and in our lives, and not just at the end of a year, but these are the things that get established in ourselves for the rest of our lives. And it's not just a one-year contract we're signing with God that we're going to do this for a year, and then the year's over, I can go back to living that old funky way that I used to, have more fun maybe doing that. But just getting new things established and making this kind of forward progress that I'm talking about. And when we do this just with steadiness, with perseverance, with patience, with always looking to make forward progress. And this is what I think what really Master was saying when he said, go with slow speed. The emphasis is on speed and go. Go and speed are at the two ends of the sentence, and with slow, steady speed. And so just as long as we're making that forward progress, in terms of what we give, not in terms of what we're getting, but in terms of how much we give and selflessly and with devotion. That's, no one can take that away from us in the end. That, as Master said, it's registered in the divine consciousness for all of eternity. And that's what brings us home by the end of this lifetime. And again, I've seen this with my own eyes in the lives of many Guru Bhais who have spent their life doing these things, but also in my own life over these years. So may our efforts be done with God, with the Gurus this year. May they bless our efforts very deeply as we work with them. And as we take these steps, really invoke their presence and their power to help us and guide us throughout this coming year. So let's feel that presence of our Gurus supporting us, uplifting us. They came to help us. They really want to help us. And when they see us making that kind of effort that we're talking about, they help us even more. They look at those who are the most serious, and when they see that, they rub their hands together and they go, oh, this person's putting out the energy. They add their tailwind. They look for those who are avid because they can help them. It's not that they don't want to help everybody, but those who are putting out the right effort in the way that we're talking about and with them, they get behind them and they're able to help us a lot more. So let's close with a prayer, visualizing this coming year, the efforts that we're going to make spiritually to please God, to please the Guru, and that being really the bottom line, and progressing forward with them. And let's pray. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, great masters, we bow with gratitude at your feet. Guide and bless our lives. Strengthen our will and dedication. Enter our hearts and inspire greater and greater devotion, greater and greater desire for thee, and especially the wish, the determination to give ourselves more and more to thee, holding nothing back. We are your very own. Bring us home. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And as part of our own self-offering to God and to all, let's share these blessings with the world, feeling the grace and the power of Divine Mother flowing through us. Om. Om. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Well, many blessings on this coming year. Blessed Christmas, blessed all-day meditation. If you haven't done yours yet, we're doing ours next week. This is a very holy and inward time just to really look within on ways to go forward. So may their blessings be added to